So now I'm going to turn it over to Terrence, who's going to talk to you about Ascent Slipstream.
And Tony, while Terrence is talking about it ready for Ascent Slipstream, can the rental functionality be used for the people who are doing loans or rent or demo units as well?
Absolutely. There is actually a category of orders called loaners. And loaners would be particularly useful for those situations where a customer wants to try before he buys. So you would loan the equipment out to him for a week, a month, or whatever the time frame is. You would always know where that equipment is, what that particular serial number is, and where it is used. It never leaves your ownership, if you will, so you constantly maintain ownership of it, but it's out at another location. It's at a customer location. Then when the customer decides he wants it, then just, you could do a quick little return back into inventory and then turn around and bill it on the same order.
Great.
So it's a great way to do that.
All right, Terrence.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thanks, Tony, for introducing me. All right, and I'm going to talk about Ascent Slipstream. So, let me get the screen back up here. All right. So Ascent Slipstream, we have developed a new product in which we are allowed to print labels directly out of Salesforce. So there's a couple ways that we're doing this. So from Salesforce, we send a message out to a Ruby server, and this Ruby web server is connected to Bartender, which is another application used to design and print labels automatically. And that'll be connected to a network printer, and it'll automatically print labels. You need a web server to host this application, but it is going to be accepting communication from Salesforce 24/7. And with that said, Ascent Slipstream is not only limited to just the Ascent objects. You're allowed to print any object out of Salesforce. So that includes anything, from account information, contact information, opportunities, anything you can name out of Salesforce, you can print with Slipstream. So without further ado, let me show you how it works. Okay. So as you can see, we're in a Ascent Slipstream app here. And before I get straight into it, let me just show you some quick setup parameters. So I'm going to go to Setup. I'm going to go to Settings, just to give you an idea of the kinds of things that we'll be looking at for when you're setting up Slipstream. Okay, I'm going to go into Custom Settings. All right. And just like we have for Ascent, we have another set of settings for Ascent Slipstream. So here we go. There's only 3 parameters that we're going to be looking at here. First is the folder that is going to house all of the Bartender templates that you'll be storing. And these are all the label templates that you can design yourself. The second parameter is the printer name. So in this particular instance, we are connected to a Dell that's assigned to Andrew, and we're going to use his HP printer. And after that, we have the URL, or the IP address and the port of the server that is hosting the Slipstream application. So after that's set up, we would go ahead and start creating our labels. And let me show you that. So when we have Ascent Slipstream selected on the top right here, we would go ahead and hit Add Barcode Profile. Okay. Those 3 settings that I showed you earlier, those copied over by default to this profile Visualforce page, as you see right here. So we can create a new label here called, let's see here, we'll just call this one Item Label. I'm going to call it Item Label 2 because I already have one in place, and that's the one I'll show later, but I'm just doing this for demo purposes. So Item Label 2. All right. Default quantity would be how many we want to print as soon as we pop up the Ascent Slipstream. So for now, we'll just put 1 copy. This is all fine here. This already has the server IP, printer name, and file path. That's all set. Now we get to choose which object we want to print from. And like I said before, we're not only limited to Ascent, we can print any object. So this is listing everything that's inside this Salesforce org. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Ascent Item. As soon as that's done, you'll see that we have fields available to print. So each field that's in there we're allowed to print. And then we can go ahead and start adding some fields here. So let's see. Let's get the item name. So where is that? Item. Oop, sorry. Oh, here it is. Okay, that's the item name. We can also get the description, and the default vendor name. So on and so forth. So let me just get the description. As you can see, when there's tons and tons of fields, it's going to be a long list, but we found them. All right, so we have these 3 fields here, and I'm just going to hit save. So it took us straight to the object that we created. So we have another object called Barcode Label Profiles, and that's the one that we just made right now. And I'm actually going to go to the one I created beforehand. This is just for the specific demo. This one only has just name and description, so that's fine, but it's got everything else set up. So let me show you Slipstream actually in action. So I'm actually going to switch it back all the way to Ascent. Okay, and I'm going to go into the item master. And, oh, let's pick, let's see here, any of these, doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got our DT4060-4, which is a thermal label here. And we're going to start printing a label on a label. Actually, let's pick a different item. That might get a little confusing. Let's just pick this cutlery kit. So what we've done is we've added a button here called print, and this print button contains some special code. And let me go into that actually. Okay, well, never mind. I'm just going to go straight into it. So I'm going to hit print. All right, there's a small little error there, but that just has to do with the demo. So it's asking how many we want to print, what profile do we want to print. Remember before, we either had item label 2 or 1. 2 is the one we created. Let's just do the one I had beforehand, and we'll hit print barcode. So we hit print barcode, and we're taken to another screen here. And if it's hard to show this on the screen, but you would see that a certain label, let me bring it up here, like this, would print out on the printer. This is the bartender software that I was talking about before. This is where you would design the label. And Bartender Commander would show that there was an output of 1 print that came from Salesforce. And that's it from Ascent Slipstream.